In your book, you talked about Sam Harris, one of these four horsemen, and how he criticizes the Bible on the matters of slavery, that God allowed slavery in the Bible.
Right.
So how do you respond to that charge that Bible never condemns slavery, either in the Old Testament or in the New Testament?
Yeah, that's a very important question, particularly now, because I think, as I described earlier, I think when I started doing apologetics in the 1980s, the questions were truth questions, and so it kind of reflected a modernity. Whereas today, I think the questions reflect a postmodernity or postmodernism. And of course, one of the features of postmodernism is there is great concern about matters of race and gender and class. In America, we talk about identity politics. And so people are very sensitive to the idea, was Christianity a good force in the world when it came to African Americans, when it came to Blacks? I think what I would say to Sam Harris and to other atheists who are concerned about the question of the Bible and slavery is I would say that it is a fundamental mistake to think of the biblical idea of slavery. Now, the Bible often talks about being a bond slave or being a person who is in a position where you would work for a master. The biblical idea of a bondservant does not mean the same thing as you would if you use the word slavery in the antebellum South before the Civil War. Biblical slavery or being a bondservant was very different. A bondservant could ultimately gain their freedom. A bondservant could not be beaten and abused and murdered without the master being brought up on charges. So, this kind of bondservant position in the Old Testament, the people had rights, they had liberties, and it was not something that was based upon race. It was primarily an issue of economics. And I would also add this, that I think it's the Christian worldview that ultimately led to the abolition of slavery in the Western world and in much of the Eastern world. Now remember, almost every culture practiced slavery. So in my mind, slavery is not an American problem or necessarily even a white problem. It is a human problem. Every culture, Greeks, Romans, Mesopotamians, Chinese, all of these nations practice slavery. But it's the Christian worldview that says people are made in the image of God. And because they are made in the image of God, they have dignity and they have value. Paul says in Galatians 5, this is in the first century in the Roman Empire, Paul says there's no difference in the Christian church between male and female, Jew, Gentile, male, female, slave or free, all are one in Christ. And I believe that if you look at Europe and you look at America, that the leading abolitionists almost always came from a Christian point of view, that slavery is evil. It is evil because human beings have dignity and they have value and they should be treated with respect. And so it is true that the Bible does not formally and explicitly condemn slavery, although there are a couple passages in the New Testament that I think come very close to that. But it was the Christian view of the world, the Christian view of anthropology, the Christian gospel that led to the abolition of slavery. So I would say to Sam Harris that to say that the Bible encourages or promotes slavery is a fundamental misunderstanding on his part.